Hello. Hi, Amanda. I just got your email too. Oh, You're muted.
Okay, I was gonna stay muted because I didn't know if there was a bunch of people in here, and so I wasn't gonna unmute myself. Yeah, I just sent that question as I was getting ready for this because it's such a big one for me, and it's like I have vacillated greatly on this between my own inner being's understanding and then like Abraham's teachings greatly. So yeah, I love your perspective on that.
Okay, cool. Well,
we get going. Yeah,
I'm expecting 2 more folks so far. This one's a little bit smaller.
Okay.
One of them I'm just admitting now, and then a gentleman named Andrew registered. So I'll probably give him a little bit of time, and while I'm giving him time, I'll read your email and then sort of prepare for it. Cool. But I'm so excited to see you. You're glowing.
Oh, thanks. I just got off a live with Christy Jalbert from she wasn't in the summit, but she was like helping breathe balance and has all these new exciting things going on in her life. So it just gave me a lot of energy and I'm feeling good.
That's awesome. Well, I am glad for that. We all need energy like that. So
yeah, I had to create it myself. Okay, I'm just gonna push stop video because I am cooking dinner. It's 8 o'clock where I am, and I just realized I'm like, I need to cook a little bit of dinner. But I am on, so I'm just gonna do that.
Good, go ahead, and then I'll go ahead and take a look at your email. Hi, Ebony, thank you for coming. I believe we're waiting for one more person. Andrew registered, so Amanda sent in an email. I'm just gonna read that, and if by the time I'm done, Andrew hasn't come yet, then we'll just sort of get started.
Okay, I'm gonna go on a walk while we do this.
Oh, that sounds so nice. Do it. Okay, so I am done reading that email and we're going to get started. So if Andrew does come a little bit later, we'll just introduce him at that time, but I want to go ahead and get going, started on this. So I actually know both of you, Amanda and Ebony, but you guys don't know each other. So I would love if you guys would introduce yourself and just say like where you're from and what else would people want to know? Oh, and just say what your understanding of the law of attraction is, like what it means to you.
Okay, I will go first. I love that you ask what our understanding of law of attraction is because it helps me communicate what I know about law of attraction, but condense it down.
Mm.
It seems like such a big question to me, but hello, Amanda, I'm Ebony. I'm from Southern Illinois. And my understanding of law of attraction is essentially that we are creating our own reality through our thoughts, which compound to beliefs. And by feeling good, we put ourselves in a place of receiving and allow the law of attraction to do what it does, which is bring what our desires are to us. That's my breakdown.
Wonderful. I like that. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yay, thank you. Hello. Hi, Ebony. My name is Amanda. I am originally from California. I live in Mexico now, and I've been here about 3 years. I have been following Abraham and law of attraction teachings for, I think maybe like 3 or 4 years now. And you really summed it up perfectly well. And which is just that we are vibrational beings and not just material beings. And our vibration that we're consistently offering all of the time, when we're conscious and when we're awake, is again offered through our thoughts, our words, our beliefs, and eventually our actions. And so that every experience that we draw into our lives was a vibrational match for ourselves. And for me, law of attraction really, it's understanding like the fundamental law that everything is attraction and not what is the word that she always uses, not compulsion or not like yes. So it's just like being in a state of receiving and like focusing more on your vibration rather than like outcomes and rather than controlling like the material things in your life is really important. So that's what it means to me. I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. And what I really love actually about this call is that the two of you are actually really experienced with the law of attraction. You guys have like a very good understanding of it. And that's really fun to speak to as well. And I'll actually be able to skip a little bit because like you guys have the basics, like some of the basics already down, which is great. But I do want to sort of delve more into the aspect of us attracting what we're vibrationally aligned to, right? And something that I teach in the workshops that I do and try to really put an emphasis on is increasing our awareness of what's happening, right? Because we can't do the law of attraction. It's already happening. It's been happening. It'll continue to happen. And so when we can understand how it's working, what we're experiencing, like how it got manifested, how it began, what thoughts or beliefs that we had that resulted in this current manifestation that we're in, changing. And once we can really understand that, like how we've manifested what we're experiencing, then you can start to tweak it and self-correct to adjust what we manifest in the future, because our future manifestations are really based on what we're feeling and what we're thinking now. And Ebony's probably heard this analogy before, but I have this analogy of a river, and I feel like it's really helpful for understanding our place within the law of attraction. So studying the law of attraction is like studying a river. And you're studying the river so that you know where to best put your focus. And the water in the river is your inner being. And it also represents the positive flow of source energy. It represents everything that's non-physical. It naturally flows in a positive direction. We don't have to do anything to make that happen. That's always happening. And any dams or blockages are ways in which we are resisting the natural flow of that water, of that energy in our own lives. And speaking a bit to your email, Amanda, a lot of the work in the spiritual and conscious community is focused on shadow work, which is focusing on the dams, on the blockages to try to remove them away. to try and take them away or break them down. But the fact of the matter is that the more we focus on them, the more they still seem to be there. And we forget that our inner being, our source energy that we all have access to, which is representing this river, is infinitely intelligent, infinitely powerful, has so many more resources and ways in which to create well-being and flow that we can't even imagine. And it can remove any block. We don't actually need to do anything to necessarily remove it. If we simply focus on where the water is taking us, on where the energy is taking us, then source energy, our inner being, will worry about dismantling the blockages, dismantling the blocks or what have you. And to speak to what you said, yeah, Abraham often refers to the law of exclusion, right? So what you focus on is what you get. Like, you know, I use the example often of like a cheating boyfriend or a cheating girlfriend, right? If you talk about how much like you don't want a boyfriend or girlfriend that cheats, how you dealt with that in the past, and you're constantly talking about it, and you're like, nope, this is my boundary. I don't want someone who cheats, blah, blah, blah. I'm making sure the next person I get is not a cheater. All the universe hears is cheater, cheater, cheater. And that's what you're going to be looking for because it's in the vibration. So again, there's no law of exclusion in that respect. Again, this also leads to the fact that I'm sure you guys are both aware of, is that nothing's a coincidence. And the more that we do pay attention to the signs and the symbols and the things that we see in our life and interpret them almost the way that we might interpret a dream, really helps us understand where we're at vibrationally, because nothing is a coincidence. Every single thing that we experience is purposeful. And when we start really looking at it like that, and understanding that the universe has an order, reality has an order, maybe we don't entirely understand that yet, so it feels random. But the more we begin to watch ourselves interact with people and things and observe our thoughts and our beliefs and our emotions and see what's happening as a result of those, it all begins to make sense. You know, while we, you know, elicit certain things or certain behaviors from certain people and not others, based on what we think about them or don't think about them or what have you. So those are all examples. I want to go into just outline again the steps in the art of allowing, in case you guys don't know these by heart, which I wouldn't necessarily expect. So the first step in the art of allowing is to ask for what you want. Step 2 is God and the universe answers immediately. Step 3 is allowing the answer or manifestation into your reality. And that's really the epitome of the divine feminine right there. Step 4 is basically a mastering of step 3. It's maintaining a consistent state of allowing, a consistent state of receiving. And then step 5 is appreciation of contrast. And contrast is defined as usually a negative emotion or a negative experience. And just having appreciation for it and understanding that because of that contrast, we get to go back to step 1 that makes us ask for something, and then we get to allow it in again. So just appreciation of the entire process, that we're always ever evolving, we're always going to be asking. And I truly feel that the number one way to allow in what you desire to get in step 3 is just simply gratitude. In the workshop that I'm doing, I have the students every single day write 1 page of gratitude to start off the day, among some other things. But really the gratitude is most important, because if we can get in a place of feeling appreciative and focusing on what's going well in our lives, then that's what we're focusing on, and we'll begin to see more and more and more of that. And it'll continue to help us get closer to that state of allowing if we're not already in it. So I wanted to see if you guys had any questions or comments on what I've said so far.
Yes, I did. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. So in terms of the signs and symbols, I have no issue recognizing signs and symbols. And I have been questioning them. And so when you're seeing signs and symbols and you're interpreting them, is it that your interpretation is basically like you deciding what your reality is? So like if I see 1111 and I look it up and it says good things are coming, and I decide that that's what it is that me, like, because of course you can find, depending on like the different cultures and the different time frame when the interpretations were made, sometimes they vary a little bit. So and then of course you can just come up with your own meaning from like your own experience of seeing the same repeating number. Is it when you interpret things that it's like you saying this is how my reality is and this is a sign that this is just like a confirmation? Does that make sense?
So it sounds like you're asking if when you see something and you feel like it's indicative of you, are you trying to say that I guess I'm not entirely understanding the question, but I feel like I have an answer. So what I'm going to say
your answer.
So what I'm going to say is that when we see something or we experience something and it feels like a representation of us, like it's less usually of a like mental analysis, but more of like a feeling of it, right? Because our vibrations and our manifestations are mostly emotional, right? Our emotions have a much stronger vibration than usually our thoughts. And so when we're feeling something, we attract things with that feeling. And so I would encourage you the next time you see a sign to be like, what am I feeling right now? Like, what emotion am I feeling?
Okay.
That could be with that. Because that'll get you a lot closer. And I'm all for honestly looking up signs and symbols online. I do that all the time. But as far as discerning which one's gonna apply to you, it's gonna be which one feels the best. Like which one feels like it resonates with where you're at. Like I could give you two different analyses of 1111, and one you would probably be like, no. And the other one you'd be like, oh yes, that, right? So like you can feel when it's like in alignment, when it's resonant, like, yes, that's what it means. Like I'm totally feeling that, versus you read it, you're like, well, maybe. Like we can feel the difference between like a I guess so and a hell yes.
Right. Yeah, okay. Yeah, there wasn't an actual question. There was just wanting to understand them a little bit more clear. And that's basically been my experience. I've experienced or experimented with looking them up a lot. And then I experimented with mainly just repeating numbers. When I would see it, I would actually write down what my thoughts were about. And I did start to see patterns depending on what number I was seeing. Like the thoughts would coincide with that pattern. So I thought that was interesting. But ultimately, the thoughts weren't always the same. It was always a different thought, but it was the feeling that was the same. It was either like inspired, creative, inquisitive. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I would, if I were to give someone an advice as to like what they should do first when it comes to like interpreting what they're seeing, what like signs, symbols, events, whatnot, it wouldn't be like to just immediately go to like a website or go to a book of symbols. Like it would be to go like, well, what's happening right now? What feels resonant? Like, what are you feeling emotionally that's coming up? And if for people that haven't done that before, it's probably going to feel a little weird, and you might draw a couple blanks. But the more that you again ask for clarity or to understand what this is reflecting in you, the more that the answer will show up. So it's just putting it out there, like, I am looking to understand this. And your own intuition is going to be way more clear and way more insightful than anything you can probably read online.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And so my understanding of it, it's basically a feedback loop, because you can read one interpretation and be like, okay, yes, but then if you read a different interpretation, you're like, no, definitely that. So it's not only reflecting to you what is presently happening, but it's also reflecting to you the vibration of what is happening as well. So it's like, you're manifesting, you see a sign, you're attracting signs to you, and then you interpret that, and then it's an interpretation of what you're feeling, and then it just keeps going.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay, thank you, that was helpful.
Yeah, of course, thank you for asking. I do want to pop over to your question, Amanda, unless you have a different one or want to modify it at all.
I did want to not necessarily modify, but I think clarify like something specific, because it's always easier to answer specific questions than just like, oh, this general clarification. I fully understand kind of what you were saying about that, like bringing up old vibrations is really just going to reactivate it, right? It's the law. And in the work that I do with kind of like with healing and with trauma and with all of these things, like, and what's been present with me with my coach, who's like a somatic self-love coach, and she's been extremely helpful with me, is that through using my body and through going into some of my behaviors like that feel stuck in my body, there have been some things that have come to the surface, like with my father, for example, like really old memories that I feel would be served to like talk about, express, like almost like in this generational healing type way. Like I really feel like the other side of this is beauty, but at the same time, I do kind of go back to like, do I want to just like reactivate these old things and things that were old patterns, and maybe it isn't the person he still is this day. And so I'm like kind of like personally really like stuck in that place of like, do we go deep into this and like find healing and love and compassion for each other? Or do we just like, I deal with it kind of like on my own, in my own body, and then like I just go about activating things that I want to see into the future?
Yeah, I love this question. And actually, someone has asked me something similar to this before. And so the question I would actually ask you in return is, what step in the art of allowing do you think shadow work is? Is it step 1, which is asking? Is it step 3, which is allowing?
That's a great question. I think that in a way it is contrast and it's asking. So like for me, it's through the asking of like for me, I was in the process of asking like, why do I seem to have this behavioral pattern that like pushes men away, pushes people away at like the slightest sense that maybe they might not like me or not trust me, I'm just like out the door, right? Kind of like avoidant. So in bringing that up, I was like, oh, I wonder if this is a pattern that is something I could heal deeply in myself. And that brought up these kind of like somatic memories in my body of certain things with my father. So to me, I guess that would be a step 1, like, here's this big contrast. Here's has been kind of present in my like even like physical body vibration for a certain amount of years. And it's something I'm like, what I'm asking for is I'm asking to heal that, and to in the future to like relate and act in a different way in relationships.
Yeah. So and do you feel clear on what that would be, like what that change in behavior and acting in relationships would feel like for you? Does that feel clear?
To me, it would feel like expressing boundaries without fear. It would feel like clarity. It would feel like open communication. Yeah, like seeing things like straight on, and being in a place, like removing kind of like the fear and avoidance energy, and getting into like a calm, still, present, forward facing energy, like toward a situation. That's what it would feel like. Yeah.
Yeah, that feels a lot better. And so there's nothing wrong with any of the steps. Some people are in step one for a long time. Some people are in step one for most of their lives.
Yeah.
What I say about step one is this, right? As soon as something happens, an event happens that causes us to feel the negative emotion,
Okay.
we at that moment are processing it, right? We're processing it at that moment. We're like, something bad happened. This is a signpost to me that what I'm feeling is not the same as my inner being feeling it. And at that exact moment, source energy, our inner being already has the answer. And so what we need to decide is for ourselves is how long do I need to stay in step one before I'm ready to go to step three and allow the answer that's already there? How long do I need to go and dig into this before I acknowledge what I do want, which in your case would be to feel like future facing in relationships, to maybe even feel open and safe and secure. And you didn't say this, but some things I'm pulling out of it could be even playful and free, and like you could be any way you want to be, and you're supported in all of that because your inner being will never lead you wrong in that respect. And so that's my sort of opinion and viewpoint on like the shadow work stuff. It's like, okay, I get it. A lot of people are doing step one. Yes, okay, but if you really want to allow it in, you can't keep focusing on the question, because the vibration and frequency of the question is not the same as the answer.
Yes, that's so true.
Yeah, it feels different to be asking versus to be like allowing, but like, it's coming in. I know it's coming in. I'm already there.
You know what's interesting? I went to an Abraham Live. I like saw Esther in person in LA, I don't know, a year and a half, 2 years ago or something. And the theme of the entire day was that. It's like, you cannot find the answer when you're in the vibration of the question. That was like literally like the number one thing I took away from the entire day was like, you can't talk about the problem and find the answer. Yeah. And if that's this is like really advanced. It's really advanced, and so many people cannot. They're like, how do you not talk about the problem when there's a problem? They're like, you have to talk about it, otherwise you don't know there's problem. You know, like it really. But I see what you're saying is like, this is why I think people get stuck in step ones, especially when there's a complicated or long-standing or complex problem. This is where I get stuck in step one. Oh, it's been going on for years, so it's so complex, right? Like with my eating habits or something, like it's been going on for 39 years. Like there's so much energy that I have to like stay here for so long, because otherwise the universe like won't understand or something.
You're so silly, but yes, people do feel that way. And I felt that way before. Gosh, I had a thought and then I lost it. It'll return. I love really talking about the difference between the ask and the allowing. And I remember what I was gonna say. So this is actually an experience that I had. So I'm gonna give this example because I feel like this really speaks to the difference between the two. And so yesterday I was having and experiencing some contrast around like finances and renewing my Airbnb. And like, I was experiencing some fear and some lack mindset. And then it had been happening. It like, I kept being confronted with like little situations where there was like a twinge of fear here and then like another little twinge of fear here, but I didn't realize that it was collecting. And then it got to the point where I realized like, I didn't know what to do. Like I had this idea over here and I had this idea over here, but I knew that I didn't feel good. So I didn't want to take any action, because you don't want to act from a place of not feeling good, because it usually results in more not feeling good. So it's like, well, I will wait until I feel better. So today came around, I got started off on a much better start. But then when that topic came up again, I still felt some resistance around it. And so I went for a walk. I haven't walked this neighborhood I'm in yet, but I went for a walk and it just happened to be a park where there were some kids and some dogs playing. So I sat down at the park and it's just like the perfect weather and breeze. It's Tucson. It gets over 100 degrees here, but it just happens to be perfect weather and clouds at this park. So I sit there, I'm enjoying it. Some nice old lady comes and we chat about the weather. And then eventually I get up and I walk back and I sit down here at the table. And then I have an idea and it's like, open Airbnb. And I was like, okay, I'll open it. I'm just like looking around. And then I have another thought, and that thought's like, oh, why don't you message the current host and ask them for a discount? And I was like, okay, I'll do that. Still no resistance. And then she was like, oh yeah, I can do that. Let's do it through Venmo so you don't get charged fees. And it's really as simple as that. Like when we can get to the place of feeling good and not stressing or worrying and just knowing that if I get to this better feeling place, that the answer that I know is already there is going to come to me. It does. It always comes, right? It doesn't matter what you're doing. You could be at a party. You could be out to dinner. You could be doing a puzzle. Anything that gets you in a good feeling place. I feel like everyone knows how it is, right? Like when you're feeling good, you start getting all these ideas about stuff, not even related to what you're doing. You're like, why am I thinking about this? And that's because you're feeling good right now. And so Source is like, oh, she's feeling good. Get the answers in now. Get them in now. Get them in now while she's feeling good. So it's like that. And that's the example I offered.
That is so beautiful. And it's something that like, it's so funny how we as in our human nature, I experience this and I acknowledge it. And it's funny when you're there and like, you're in a bad feeling state and you know, if you just felt better, the answers would come, but you're like, I'm going to stay here for a while. I'm going to stay in this low feeling state. Like, I don't want to dance. I don't want to go outside. And I did the same thing today. Like, I just knew in order to, I was in like a pretty decent state and I had some interesting, like good news come in today, but I was in this kind of, I'm in an Airbnb too. It's like a little bit dark, like dark walls and stuff. And it was sunny out. And I just said, you know what, Amanda, if you go walk your dog for like half an hour, you are going to see the sunshine and and like, you'll just like go for a walk and your dog will be happy and you'll be happy. And on this walk, I like met a guy that I had been wanting to meet and we got each other's phone numbers and he has this land, and then like here and here, and like another woman who had introduced me to a guy and she's like, have you talked to him? I mean, like so many interactions that I was not at all planning on. I wasn't even trying to manifest anything. I just go like, my body's going to feel pretty good. I'm going to feel good. And my dog's going to feel good. That was like the only point of walking was to feel good. And so you're right. I think I've never really heard it said that way before that you just said, which is like thinking of the universe being like, oh, she's feeling good. Like, give her all the stuff, give her all the stuff. This is like the time, you know? It's so true. Yeah, it's so true. That's so cool.
That's awesome though, that you had all that happen on your walk. I mean, it makes sense, but I still get surprised and delighted by manifestations. So, okay. I want to ask, do you guys have any other questions or topics that you want to discuss or talk about? I know we still got a little bit of time. No pressure.
Okay, I'm unmuted. I want to talk about, I didn't think about this. I want to talk about like the idea of punishment. I think that there is a lot of people, not just in like the spiritual community, but also religion as well, like really anywhere, like there's always some thought form of where people deserve and should feel punishment because of X, Y, Z. So in terms of religion, it's because of the whatever God is punishing you. And then in terms of law of attraction, or not law of attraction, in terms of just like spirituality, it's just the universe punishing you. And I find it really interesting that with law of attraction, you can still be you can still have those beliefs. And so it's like, okay, when we're in a good feeling place, the universe is giving me rewards. And then when I'm in a bad feeling place and this happens, it's a punishment. It's like, no, it's not that it's a punishment. You brought that to yourself just as you brought what you're considering a reward to yourself. And I'm wondering, like, I've just been reframing this in my mind when I hear other people talk about it. I'm like what feels good to respond with to that, because it's just as easy to say that God is punishing you because you didn't give the homeless person money than like to say like the universe is punishing you because you didn't do your self-care practice. That's a big one I hear. It's like the universe is punishing me. The universe hurt my body because I didn't do yoga today. It's like, wait, no, the universe did not do that to you. That didn't happen. So yeah, I just wanted to bring that up. That just came to my mind because I just find it really, really fascinating. And I'm just like, how or what is a way to respond to this that feels good without making people like, I don't know. I don't want to make people, I know I can't make anybody feel any certain way, but I don't know. It's just been a question in my mind, like, how is this a thing? But I mean, I get it. I've been there before too.
Yeah,
It's
you
just,
have such interesting topics, Ebony. No, I love this one. I don't think I've ever contemplated this before, but what immediately comes up is that when we experience negative emotions, that's us going against our natural flow of well-being. Like, that's not like anyone punishing us. Like, we can choose and decide to feel better. We're always being presented with opportunities to feel better. The contrast is an indicator that the way you feel about this thing is not the way your inner being feels about it.
mm-hmm.
And even if you're, let's say you're in prison, you can still feel good. You can still have an amazing life in prison. It's up to us to decide if we're going to continue to go against our good feeling because we feel like we've been wronged or slighted in some way, and just acknowledge that the past is the past, but now I get to write my future anew. I get to decide how I feel. And just because I'm in this physical place doesn't mean that I have to let what I see around me affect how I feel.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we set the tone for what our vibration is. We set the tone for how we feel. And it's whether you're in prison looking at your bars or you're walking down the street and you see a homeless person asking for money, you get to decide how you feel. So you should probably decide that first thing when you wake up, before you see the bars, before you see the homeless person, so that when you see these things around you, that you're not just reacting to everything around you, right? And letting everything else calibrate you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that goes along really well with just like living an intentional life. Like, that's what that is. Like, when we did the vibrational delegation and segment intending, like, I heard that so many times in Abraham's videos, but I didn't know what it was. Like, I heard them do it, but I've never heard the explanation of what it is. So it's just like, I just try to like, do, make it up on my own. I'm like, okay, I think this is what it is. So I really love when that was included in the workshop. And then I was like, okay, wow, this makes so much sense. And I've kind of used it before, but this felt much more powerful and much more direct and much more effective. And I think that since we are aware, like when you're living somewhere, you're aware that, there's a homeless population here. You're aware that you're in prison. Like, yes, to do vibrational delegation and segment intend before you face that situation, so you're not just reacting to it, is extremely, extremely important in like the work that has to be done.
Yeah.
And also realizing that, yes, we do have free will, and you can still believe in any God that you want and still realize you have free will, which is what gives you the power to actually like be aware of the law of attraction and to attract what you want, instead of thinking that stuff is just coming to you, because you have to be somewhat aware of your own willpower and your ability to choose, whether it be thoughts or emotions, to be able to attract what you want. Because if you think that there's somebody or something else in control that is going to punish or reward you, then that kind of like cancels out the law of attraction, essentially. So I think that's important.
What's coming up is that we all know, for example, using homeless, we all know that there's homeless people. We've all seen a homeless person before. And so what I would encourage people to consider is there really a difference between knowing that homeless people exist and then having a homeless person standing in front of you? Like, should there really be a difference in how we deal with that? Right? Like, if we know, like, just because I know that homeless people exist doesn't mean that, like, I spend all my time thinking about this or worrying about this or what have you. And it's like, you're not even really focusing on it. Yes, you know that they are out there, but it's not something that you are giving any attention to. And I would give the example of, like, there are some people that, you know, are walking down the street minding their business. They don't even see the homeless person. Or they see them, they smile, they keep going. Like, it's like a non-thing. Like, it doesn't even happen. And then other people get really affected or really upset or really angry at homeless people just for standing there or just for being there. And so it's just like, we vibrate, like what we get is what we're vibrating at, right? So if we're vibrating in a good feeling place, we're going to get interactions with people no matter who they are, no matter what they are. But if we're not in a good feeling place, or we have negative thoughts or beliefs about homeless people, then you best assured that running into that homeless person is going to be an ordeal for you. And in that time, when you experience that contrast, you have the opportunity, okay, say, yeah, I don't want this. This doesn't feel good. What do I want instead? So it's all just contrast and an opportunity for us to clarify what we do want if the person asks. I think there's another part to your question I don't recall or not, but Amanda, do you have thoughts?
It was literally what you just said. What
Oh.
did you just say right before that? You said, like, oh my gosh, it's so funny. It was like the exact words. I remember what my question is. It was like whether or not, I don't know, just everything is flowing so much right now. It was so funny. So my question is, this has to do with someone I work with and work very closely with. And as a little bit of a like tiny backstory, there was a woman who I had started doing the work that I do, and was very close to me, like in my business.
Mm-hmm.
And it came to light very quickly and obviously that she did not in any way believe that she created her own reality. Like, she was one of those, like, some things, but other things just happen. And I was like, it's one or the other, you know? Like, but what I noticed is, like, from that, like, this victim mentality, lack of responsibility, like, so much, and I saw that quickly, and I was like, this to me is a fundamental. Like, if you don't believe you create your own reality and you're a vibrational being, we can't be in this close of a partnership where we are creating, co-creating things for the universe. So now a woman I work with and works like for my company and very close to me, who is a wonderful woman and is like very actually like positive and grateful and has a lot of like really beautiful aspects that I appreciate about her. Mm-hmm. I'm starting to notice like a similar thing, less so, right? Like kind of understanding in general, like the law of the universe, but there's always like sticking points, right? Like, yeah, but not that. Like, not that, like that just happened to me. And this kind of victim mentality coming up in certain situations, which leads to like a lot of complaining. And the reason I'm asking this is not to try to like change her mind or change her vibration. I know I can't do that. Mm-hmm. But I'm noticing some like verbiage and things coming out that are being shown toward me. Like, well, you just, you know, Amanda, you make me feel unappreciated, or you make me feel like this. And coincidentally, a lot of them are similar to how her ex-husband made her feel, and all these things, right, made me feel. So my question, I'm getting to it because I'm kind of just saying it out loud as it's coming, is how to, other than just being in charge of my own vibration, which is all I know I can really do, is there a way for people who don't really desire to necessarily have an understanding of law of attraction as deep as some of us do, like where we watch the videos and we journal and we do the exercises, is there a way to communicate this to them in a way that's it doesn't make them who, or they already have that vibration of like victim, right? And so then anything you say like, well, actually how you feel is your own vibration, like it almost digs it deeper, you know? So yeah. I guess I'm just seeking some advice on that.
So the best way to get people interested is to be the example. And so you just do it. You pretend you do it. And as far as she goes, you look for the positive aspects of her. What are the great things about her? What do you love about her? What does she do that makes you laugh or that makes you smile? Maybe it's not a lot of things, but just focus on those things about her that are good and on prioritizing your alignment, right? Because what will happen in that respect, one, you'll feel a lot better. You won't be worried, or you might not even notice when she goes off on these, I don't know, rants or whatever. I tend to find that with certain people, when I'm talking to them and they start complaining about something, somehow it's some period of time later and I didn't catch it because I'm just like not there. Like, I'm just like, this is irrelevant. None of that is important. And I just tune it out, not even consciously trying to. It's just because I just like, I know what it's like, you know that all is well. And so there's no need to focus on what's not going well. So yeah, I would say prioritize your alignment, you're feeling good. Look at the positive aspects in her. And then what'll either happen is she'll come up to match you, or she won't, and she'll boop out of your existence.
Yeah, right. And that's what happens. It's so true. That's exactly true. And it's like, I've noticed that the more that I focus on from this kind of like, oh, I'm the boss, and so I have to like, evaluate my employees, but that makes me focus on like their negative aspects and how they can improve. And here's what she needs to change. And here's how she needs to do this better. And all that does is just draw that so much more into my attention.
Yeah.
It really does. It really
feels good.
I know. So, I mean, maybe that's a way to like, that's another, I know that you hardly have any time left, but I mean, this is maybe getting to the heart of where I'm at is like, I do have these evaluations with people that are really important because we work in a very like energetic space and a very close space with guests and people. And there are times when I need to point out maybe some like places for improvement that aren't their like positive aspects. And I really do have a hard time doing that, mainly not because I'm afraid of like, what they'll think of me, that I've gotten long over, but more of like, I don't want to bring that up in their vibration. Like, hey, when you do this, like, no, so what are some maybe like communication skills, like when I do need to like fine tune, our team or whatever, but without it being like, here's your negative qualities.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the opposite of like something you're doing wrong would be, what I want, right? And so maybe instead of like, oh, when you do this document, you forgot to do this and this and this, but it will be like, oh, when you do this document, we want to make sure that we have this and this and this. Like, it could be focusing on what is wanted versus like what they did wrong in a respect. Like, again, not focusing on the asking, but like more on the allowing, like because the solution's already there. Like you already, like you came up the work thing, right? You're like, oh no, this doesn't feel good. This isn't what I want. Immediately, what you want, what do you want is there. And also what they want is there, because they want to do well, and they don't want conversations with you where you're talking to them about what improvements they need to make. And so in reality, you guys are creating that together. And so It's been helping you turn both of your focus to calibrate on where things are going, not like the past.
I like that. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, okay. Anything else? I don't know if we go over a little bit, to be honest. These are just such good conversations, but I also do want to value you guys' time as well. So did you guys have any other questions or topics you wanted to go over or discuss?
I have to go soon just because I have an early blood test in the morning. It's like 9 o'clock here, but I can stay on for a few more minutes.
Okay. Well, Ebony, if you don't mind, I'm going to go into start to wrapping up this call. Okay, perfect. So I am going to be talking briefly about the next Law of Attraction workshop series that I'm going to be offering. It's 7 weeks, and there are 7 live workshops. They're on Saturday mornings. And this is going to be starting on June 26th and running through August 7th. And I'm really, really excited for this one. This one is called the Law of Attraction Summer Mastermind, because it's really in the heat of summer that we're going to be doing this. It's going to be led by me, and my co-host is going to be Jen Thomas. And we have guest speakers Caitlin Howe and Ebony Mitchell, who is actually on this call. And this workshop series is going to include a manifestation workbook that's going to provide you with journal prompts you do every single day of the workshop series. So we aren't meeting on a live Zoom call every single day, but every single day in between the calls, you're also going to be journaling, solidifying these practices, training your focus, training your alignment, things like that. You also get access to a private Facebook mastermind group that was actually started by me, Ebony, and another one of our friends. Basically, what the three of us were doing was just sort of basically coaching each other on the law of attraction often. Like whenever we'd have something come up, we'd come and talk to each other, give each other advice, share inspiring stuff, and just debate topics. And we thought, well, why not create a Facebook group where we can invite more people into this experience. And so we're giving students access to that private Facebook group. And you get access to my Attract Better membership site. This is a membership site where I literally have put in all of the content I've created around the law of attraction: articles, exercises, worksheets, meditations, all past recordings from prior workshops. All going to be in there. So this feature is awesome for like the advanced people on this call that like want more and more and more and are like starting to debate other topics like punishment or things like that. Like I have articles on the variety of topics going in depth there. And also just for the eager student that really is ready to receive this information and integrate it. So that resource is available as well. You'll also be receiving a downloadable guided meditation. Every one of the 7 live workshops begins with a guided meditation by Jen Thomas. But in the 6 or so days in between the workshops, we thought it would be excellent, a really good idea to offer to you guys a downloadable guided meditation that you can do to help you get into a place of allowing. For this workshop series, we do have scholarships available if anyone feels like they need something like that. We also have created ability for if someone wanted to gift this workshop to someone, we have that set up as well. And if someone wanted to provide a donation so that someone else could participate in this workshop, maybe someone they don't know, then we accept those as well. To briefly go ahead and outline the lessons for this workshop. Week 1 is Law of Attraction Basics and Quantum Gratitude and Intention Setting. And Ebony Mitchell is going to be joining us on that one. I'm really excited for it. Week 2 is Learning Vibrational Delegation and Segment Intending. Week 3 is Learning High Vibrational Storytelling of the Past and Future with Caitlin Howe. Week 4 is Learning Passion Play. Week 5 is Learning Ethos Creation and how to speak your dreams into reality. Week 6 is Learning Dreams and Waking Symbols and how to interpret those. And then week 7 is when we wrap everything up, we celebrate our successes, our manifestations, our growth and progress. So this workshop is really, really in depth. We've with each other for over a month, and this really gives everyone time to put into practice the things that they're learning and experiment with it, and then ask questions and share it in a group setting so everyone can really learn from each other and really give everyone a chance to do this in a setting where then they could come back if they have questions or come back and share what they manifested in. We already had some amazing manifestations so far in the workshop. So if you're interested in this, then I will put the link in the chat and then you can go ahead and sign up if you're interested, but that's what we're working on next. So I just want to thank you both for joining tonight and us talking and vibing law of attraction.
Can I ask a question about the course?
Yeah.
Due to my kind of travel schedule and whatever schedule that I really have irregular weeks. So there may be like a Saturday morning that for whatever reason I can't join live. Is there going to be the recordings and can I still participate if that happens?
Oh, that's such a good question. That comes up often. And yes, all of the calls are recorded. You get access to all the recordings. And like you did today, Amanda, you can email me in or put in a Facebook any questions that you have if you want them addressed on the next workshop call. That way you're still getting your questions and whatnot addressed in the meantime. And honestly, we do a lot of this sort of thing in between the workshops too. Right now, we're operating out of a WhatsApp group for the current running workshop, and people are constantly putting questions and things in there. We're discussing them as a group and talking about them. And so there's plenty of opportunities, and you don't really ever feel like you're missing out.
Cool. That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
I really am interested in like the rewriting the past with stories. Like that is so fascinating. And I want to totally do that, because that's where I notice myself that I can push myself in, like from a good vibe to like a medium vibe, is where I was like, why did I tell that story again? You know, like, so that's a really, really awesome one, is like, yeah, having those on hand, almost like, okay, like here's this. And I can do it in the moment with like usually I've noticed I can do it with like a recent past thing, where I'll be like, and I'll be like, I was having an interesting day. Like but I've noticed with the longer stories, you just kind of default back to like, here's what happened.
You're telling it for so long.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah, that's a really, really fun one. And it almost was a really powerful one for me. And actually I posted about that in I believe it was the Fit for Service app. And then Caitlin responded to it and said it was a really good one. So actually sort of how that initiated her being a guest speaker on that workshop.
That's crazy.
So,
cool.
Yeah.
I love it. Thank you so much. This has been always raising the vibes. I had a really like good day, and this is just making it even like, yeah. I love when my biggest problem is that like I'm trying to take in all of the goodness and it almost feels like too good. You know, those days where you're like, can there be more? Like, oh my gosh, like I didn't know there'd be so much in one day, you know? It's a good fake problem to have, I think.
Yeah, it's a problem. But yeah, I'm so glad that you came, Amanda. It was really good chatting with you and talking with you and finding law of attraction. So I hope you have a lovely night. And you too, Ebony.
Yes, thank you. Can I share something just really quick?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. I just got a notification on my phone, and probably 3 minutes ago, I was wondering if a payment was going to come through so I could send it over to you, Asha. And just now it came through. My friend's like, I'm sorry for the delay. I just sent it. It's there. Like, oh my God.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Well, that's how it works.
Of course. So thank you so much for this call and for the workshop. I'm super excited for this coming up Saturday, and I'm glad that I got the call. This was really fun.
Awesome.
Thank you guys so much.
I love you, Queens. I hope you have an amazing evening.
Love you.
Bye.
Bye.
Love you.